Check 1 2, check 1 2. One, check mic 1. Check mic 4. Check mic 4. Check mic 6 on bank 2. Check mic 8 on bank 3. Check mic 9. Check mic 10. Check, check. Check, check. 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 Test 8. Test 11.
all set? Are you all set? I'm all set. All right. Nothing to do for now. All right, good evening. Let's call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, good evening. Welcome to our July meeting. We're going to start tonight with a review and approval of the minutes via unanimous consent. Do we have any questions or input on the meeting minutes from the June 11th meeting? Okay, looks like we will approve the unanimous consent. Next, we are going to break for a brief executive session for personnel, so we'll be back momentarily.
Wildcats 24 exclamation point. Try that.
All right, we are back from exec session, so we're going to pick up in section 3 of the agenda for this evening, committee reports. We will start first with finance and operations. Mr. Johnson?
So it was brought to our attention that there were some items that were sold. We did very well on those items that Mr. Schrader put in. Fire alarm inspections were also done, and everything was fine. August 6th, the gym bleachers will be inspected. And MR Dirt had built some, it's bocce ball courts on Lily Ave that MR Dirt had came in and did a bunch of work, and I guess they look quite nice. So, but that's all we have to report.
Just to add, that was all funded by Special Olympics.
Yes, Special
so they
Olympics,
funded
I'm
that
sorry.
whole.
Yep.
It was a grant, and so yeah, we got bocce ball courts on.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Up next, personnel and policy.
Hi. We reviewed a number of first read policies this evening around professional development, sick leave, family and medical leave, personal necessity leave, vacation, sabbatical leave, and uncompensated leave. We had a couple very minor tweaks that we'd like to make to the documents. On the sabbatical leave, there is a line that says that the board shall review each application for sabbatical. We thought that that was a little too, stringent. We think that may, so that we have that opportunity, so that we can also be guided by the superintendent. The board still will approve any sabbaticals that go through, so that still goes through. We just didn't think it was necessary for us to read through all of the rationale, especially if it's medical information. So that was one small change that we wanted to make. The second was, this is more of just a typography update on the personal necessity leave. There's a mention of bereavement leave under personal leave. We wanted it to be called out as its own separate heading, just so that it's clear that if you take bereavement leave, you're not eating into your personal days as well. So it's very much just a very small change. And because those are very small, we're recommending just to move these first reads to second read tonight and vote on them. They're really very straightforward and very much in line with our practice to date as well. There was also an additional policy that we updated around the organizational chart that we just updated with changes in district personnel. And what we've actually done is removed the names of specific employees, and now it just has the position instead. So very straightforward, very nice, clean, simple chart. So that's been added on there as well. Otherwise, nothing too exciting. Great.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll go to curriculum instruction technology. I can give that update tonight. We had a few items on the agenda. First was just an update on the summer program, which wrapped up recently for both junior high and high school and was a successful program. We also got an update on the retreats for the admin team, one of which was conducted back in June and another retreat being conducted next week. There's also work going on across our buildings in preparation for the upcoming school year, preparing schedules, supplies, so on. And also in preparation for the school year, there's going to be 4 in-service days the week before school starts, which is the week of August 19th. And then also Mrs. Rhodes and Mr. Cullum gave us an update on the book study that's focused on trauma training across the district. That's a sort of a volunteer program with about 50 or so participants across faculty and staff that are learning about trauma, how to spot trauma in students and how to deal with that. So we had a great conversation on that, and I think it's really great that the faculty and staff's taken upon themselves to do this on their own time. So it was great to hear more about that. So that wraps up that report. So next we will move to extracurricular activities.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Busy summer here at Athens, so a lot of cool things going on. Our summer rec ended a few weeks ago. Great success. We had 84 kids that were signed up and participated in some form in the program. I want to give a major shout out to Megan Collins and Sophie Adams. They were the head counselors for that. They did a wonderful job, great organization. The other student counselors that worked with them also did great. So it was a very successful program, and we ran it for about $15,000 less than we did in '23. So it was a win all around. Our high school gym has been very busy the last 3 weeks, counting this one, and next week we had 2 weeks of basketball camps. We had over 215 kids 2 weeks ago at the boys camp. We had over 150 kids last week at the girls camp, and this week we have currently 67 boys and girls at the older level volleyball camp, and next week will be the youth volleyball camp. So a lot of stuff going on. I'd like to certainly thank Phil Williams and his staff and Jeff for making sure that all our kids have that opportunities and arranging their schedules to get all their work done in the summer as well. Outdoor facilities, if you remember back in the spring, the weather was awful at the start of baseball and track season. Like, I was very worried about getting these games in. So Jeff and his guys, for the condition of our fields and making sure we got all our games in as scheduled, was wonderful. That was a great thing. A small spring shout out to one of our great athletes, Sarah Bronson. She placed 4th in the mile at the state championships in Shippensburg, broke the school record by many seconds. Excellent athlete and kid, so she deserves some notoriety for her accomplishment down there. I have the bocce courts written down here, but Mr. Johnson already covered that. Lastly, kind of a new event that we have going is there's a powerlifting competition on August 3rd. Nico Hulslander, who's had our powerlifting club for a few years, he said he's got about 30 kids signed up so far. So they're going to be in the old gym for a competition. Obviously, I will not be participating in that, but it's the kids that do that do a great job with that. Last thing, our Little League, some of our youth programs also that do such an excellent job. Our outdoor facilities, our Little League field and high school field, hosted 2 different Little League events, the 9 and 10-year-old sectional baseball tournament, as well as the junior division state tournament. So, and they both went well. A lot of compliments to everyone associated with Little League for doing a great job with that. And lastly, our Youth Basketball Association, they've been participating things that have been new. They keep improving their processes, more play, more kids. The president of the Youth Basketball Association, Kevin Doherty, is back there, and what he's accomplished is phenomenal over the 4 or 5 years that he has been doing that. The organization runs excellently, and we will definitely reap the benefits of that as a school district very soon. So that concludes it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Great update. Next, we'll move on to the superintendent's items and reports. Dr. Stage.
Yeah, you guys took every single thing on my list, so I don't want to reiterate it. Summer's going well. I got to meet today with Questec and Mr. Gorsline. We reviewed our IT. The transition's going pretty well. Obviously, when you move to a new way of doing things, there's going to be some bumps in the road, but it's really good to have the communication, and hopefully we'll minimize that transitional impact by the start of the school year. So that'll be a positive thing. I also wanted to say that thank you to all the teachers and administrators that allowed us to have summer school this year. Help our kids bridge some gaps. I know that's a sacrifice of time of theirs to make that happen. So I was very appreciative of that. And then obviously all the other things that happened, and our summer rec program was really well organized, and Miss Adams and Miss Collins needs a lot of credit for that. So I wanted to put them on the agenda to hire them for next year already, but Mr. Sullivan said, wait a day.
Wait a day.
Okay, so
Next time.
that concludes my redundant report.
Thank you, Dr. Stage. We have nobody reporting on Blast IU 17, so next we'll go to Mrs. Cooper for the Career Center.
We have nothing to report. We will have a meeting the week after our meeting in August.
In August, okay.
Yep.
Look forward to that report. Thank you. PSBA, Mrs. Minnick.
Yeah, I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Next, solicitor's reports. Mr. Barrett.
I have several things. The assessment appeal with Cabinet Works that we've been arguing about for about 6 months has been resolved with a settlement. It's been presented to the court. I haven't got it back yet, but it was resolved under fairly favorable terms, which were the same as the ones we did last year and the year before. This one just got missed, and we were able to do it under the former common level ratio instead of the new one, which had been worse for us. Secondly, I was able to attend the PSBA Solicitors Workshop the end of June at Penn Stater. It was a day-and-a-half event. Penn State's only 100 miles from me, so I drove down and back and didn't stay. It was probably the best seminar they've run based on the 40 years that I've been doing this. It was a very good one. It covers pretty much every area that we work with. It was done very well. We had a couple matters that circulated that turned out were extremely trite. We had something come up that we thought had not been resolved, and it turned out it was on a repayment matter for some of our charter school kids. It was an overpayment, and it had been settled 5 years ago, so we're able to withdraw that claim and settle it. We worked on several personnel matters with various labor council and union members, and I did review the contracts that you're scheduled to vote on tonight and find that they meet the legal requirements under the school code. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Next, we will move on to visitor comments. This section is for comments on board action items only. Do we have any comments on board action items this evening? Okay. Next, we'll move on to financial business. So several items in this section tonight. Our normal listing of the bills, the general fund checks, cafeteria bills, earned income tax, secretary treasurer report. I guess that's it. So items 7 through E. Do we have a motion and a second to bring this to the table for vote and discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions from the board on items 7A through E? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mr. Rude?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Charles-Nowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
And Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Okay, next we will move to personnel items. Do we have a motion and a second for personnel?
Second.
Okay, we have a pretty lengthy personnel list. Items A through K, which includes professional resignations, Act 93 retirements, support resignations, supplemental resignations, support contracts, professional contracts, supplemental contracts, athletic coach contracts, athletic volunteers. So several items across those sections A through K. We also have B, which is the acceptance of the separation agreement for employee number 1154. And then we also have the summer rec wage memo. Dr. Stage, anything you'd like to share on any of those before we go into a discussion?
Not at this time. It's pretty straightforward. I'd like to say something after.
Okay, after, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I have a question.
Yes.
C, the memo for the summer rec student employment pay rate. It says from 10 to 12 per hour effective 2024. So were they paid $10 or were they paid $12? So they've worked all summer without getting paid?
They have the option if they want to get paid in a fashion other than lump sum. Anyone can do that. They also have to just get paid in lump sum.
So what did we set the rate at the beginning of the year? $10?
I thought the rate was at $12. I thought the rate was $12, and I had told them all $12.
Okay.
Because it was just an honest mistake on my part. So the whole time, because of the fact that I told them
So,
$12, I feel obliged that I should pay.
right.
As far as I will say they did all do it excellent.
We did raise our buildings and farm summer and
Well, I think the calculated cost or expected expenditures included the $12 an hour versus the 10.
Probably other employers out there are more competitive rates than for summer help even than $12 an hour.
$14.51 if you want to go work at McDonald's.
I don't have a problem with the $12. It's just, we should have known right from the beginning what was happening. Communication. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board on any of the personnel items? Okay, Christine, go for a vote, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mr. Rude?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. Terrasnowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Yes, over to you, Dr. Stage.
Yeah, so Ms. Durdon is here tonight. Would you stand up? We just hired her tonight to be a chemistry teacher at the high school. Congratulations. Real interesting background. She's a real scientist who wants to be a teacher, and so having the real world experience, bringing it into classroom, I'm very excited to have her join us. So thank you so much. Yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Dr. Stage. Okay, next we will move on to Section 9 for contracts and agreements. So we have our typical Title I interdistrict agreements. That's items A and B. A couple blast agreements. Our Bradford Sullivan Drug and Alcohol Agreement for the next upcoming school year. Bradford Sullivan Mental Health Program. Caseworker Outreach. An amendment to our Quest Tech contracts. And then we have 2 early retirements within this section. So do we have a motion and a second to bring this up for discussion and vote?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
What's the BLAST website hosting agreement? What is
Yeah,
what are we
so
paying them for?
our website is hosted by the IU. It doesn't? Oh, right. I'm sorry. So like the screens you see when you walk in the buildings and the digital signage, they call it a website hosting fee, but it's their kiosks. It might be labeled differently, but that's kind of how they plan that out.
Will Quest Tech be taking that over?
No, that's still what the IU will do that for now. We're going to we'll probably transition that later
What
on.
do they do? What does that do for us? Like what are those screens telling us?
Well, so every building uses those to share information with students and staff. They're signage boards when they come in the building.
Why can't we do our own?
Good
Why do we
question.
need to go through BLAST?
Her question is, why can't we do it ourselves? And I'm not technology,
Yeah, why are we paying BLAST?
I don't have
to
the technology,
do that?
technological capability, I think is the word I'm trying to spit out, to do that. I don't know if
I
it's
mean, it
something
must
we can
just be
do.
a platform that they're paying for, and then we're paying them. It says software. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be their software agreement. Just like in the next agreement is DARTS. Blast developed a software called DARTS that allows us to host our IEP development. It's our software to build IEPs. It's proprietary. There's only
So I have
2 others.
That's okay with that. That's what we use for the IEPs.
right.
But why are we paying them to run these screens in our schools?
So I think we're paying them to use their software to run those screens, basically. Like McAfee antivirus software, you pay every year to use that. I intentionally didn't use CrowdStrike.
Is this necessary?
Do you guys feel it's necessary, or do you think we could probably do it on our own?
We maintain what goes through those display boards because we have multiple ones to open a main office. I think Mr. Stage is referring to like what pushes and controls the software behind it. We maintain it. Our secretaries in the main office maintain everything from monitoring to putting pictures on software. We have it built up in school.
I don't see the reason why we have to have BLAST do that. Is that something we can do on our own?
I mean, all other software we manage internally, right?
paying this company so much money.
So it's, if you have a website and you have it online, you have to have a host for it. So I'll just use names like GoDaddy or other things. You host your website, but you still have authority to put whatever you want on it. It's just hosted through someone else.
It's just weird that everything else we
bless-
have internally and that, like, or I guess we'll manage
So-
by Quest Tech, and this is the one thing
Can
that
I,
says-
yeah, can I ask for a favor? Can you give us the, I think it's not gonna charge, like, it's an annual fee of $500, plus if we set up a new one, it's $150, and if we get any problems, it's $100 per hour. I don't know, to start the school year, I don't know if we could find a new software that we can manage ourselves right now, but if we commit tonight to finding something else, is that okay?
I highly doubt you're gonna find one for $500.
We'll try, I mean,
Yeah. We're,
It's something we can't manage on our own, even,
it's not the management,
it's
it's
the
the software.
we do manage it.
They
It's
are
the
We're,
software.
we're paying them for the right to use the software, and we're not gonna find
And
the
they're probably getting it
software
cheaper
for $500.
because everybody else is using it.
Right.
There's typically an underlying infrastructure
Probably
like
closer.
content management.
So
content
Kathy,
distribution.
Joe, it's kind of like the seats on Windows.
Am I right?
We have to pay per seat for Windows if you use Windows somewhere. It's the same idea.
It's probably, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
But we can look at, we'll see what it is to do it our own, so. So, yeah, that's darts. Just so you know, that is Blast. I use proprietary software. A lot of school districts use that. There's only one other one, IEP Writer, but that would make us have to transition all of our IEPs over to a new system. We asked our teachers about it a long time ago. There's no way they want to switch from darts. We do get a caseworker, an outreach worker in our SAP program from Bradford County Human Services. That is actually, we share a person. The cost is $12,000 a year, but we get a person 3 days a week, which I thought is excellent. And then also, we do do certain programs with the county outreach worker, such as Too Cool for Drugs and other programs they come in and do, plus they operate and manage our SAP program. So that's why you see that. Most of those are on there, and that's why you'll see those agreements. Those are yearly agreements that we have with them. So, we are amending the contract with Quest Tech because we're going to be amending it to include the PIMS position currently, for now, due to some retirements.
So we're giving them pins.
Yeah, right, that is the data management of the student information.
Okay,
Yeah. It was going to be Clint, but he's retiring.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Steve.
Is there any other I'm here to do my best I can. But.
Can you please look and see if there is somewhere else for in the future for that, even if I
The
know it's
digital
only
signage?
$500.
I got
but
you.
Still.
I'm on it tomorrow.
What
Thursday.
do other districts use?
Monday. Yes, I'm on it. I will ask. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other further questions on anything in contracts? Okay, Christine?
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Tarasnowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
and Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Okay, next, do we have a motion and a second for policies?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Mrs. Smart, in your report earlier, I believe we're going to update a couple of these from first read to second read.
I think I know
All of them?
first reads.
Okay, so everything that's here from first read will be, so everything will be second read then?
Yeah,
Okay.
with 2 minor edits to
Okay.
335 and 338.
Okay. So then A through I, we are voting on for second read for everything. Okay, any questions from the board on any of the policies?
Only comment I'd like to make is I'd like to thank Christine for 008. It was her idea to just take out the names and put it
Makes the upkeep
positions so we don't have to constantly be updating this thing. So thank you,
Good
Christine.
job.
All right, Christine, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Tarasnowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
and Mrs. Minnick.
Yes.
Okay, next, curriculum and instruction. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved. Sorry.
You're good. Second.
All right. All right, we only have one item in this section. This is the dual enrollment agreement with Keystone College. Dr. Stage, anything you want to share?
I thought Keystone was going under.
Not yet. We'll ride this storm until it does. Keystone's been a great partner for dual enrollment for us, and we're happy they're still open. It's $100 per credit for students, which normally their credits are $490 per credit, so that's a significant discount. And I think they offer somewhere between 10 and 15 dual enrollment courses just from Keystone. Now, we also have partnerships with Commonwealth University as well, and no, we don't have that. Commonwealth.
The Career Center has some.
Career Center has Penn College now, yeah. Where was the, oh, my brain, I got too much sun. SUNY something for ag. We have a, Cobble Skill, that's it, I'm sorry.
Keystone was given an extension on the timeline until but they did have an opportunity to resubmit whatever the plan was, and I did talk to them, and they assured me that they would be fine, and they would do all the steps.
Well, I'm just, so they'll at least definitely this year, because I don't want these kids to sign up for these classes and then in the end, oh, they're not here, they're not going to, like, if Keystone doesn't follow through and stay open.
Places you can see, we just had really good luck with Keystone College and Commonwealth University transferring to other schools. Transfer to the new quarters.
Right, but if they're not going to be open, what happens to the money and the credits?
That's one of the places like back along college that we look at, but when I used to do that role quite a bit, there were issues with colleges actually accepting the credits from the schools. So
Right.
I'm hoping some, they should think they have everything in order and bring it to
And the only other thing, the other really local dual enrollment source is Corning Community College. However, it's 10 grand a year that the school district has to pay, and their credits, we were having trouble transferring the credits in-state. So.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on item A? All right, Christine?
Mr. Rude,
Yes.
Mrs. Smart,
Yes.
Mr. Terosnowski,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick,
Yes.
and Mr. Owen.
Yes. Okay, we have nothing for transportation, nothing for buildings and grounds. So this brings us to the next visitor comment section. Do we have any visitor comments? Okay. There is one board communication item for the Sunday facility use. Everyone should have access to that. On to the next section. Do we have any board discussion items this evening?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Just because we're talking about Commonwealth University, will they be running that program again, Craig? With
Yeah.
Regarding the
Right.
different levels?
Yep,
and
the scholarship,
scholarships
yep, that's definitely out for this year. They may have modified it a little bit, but we'll get more information here next week from Commonwealth University about that.
Mr. Gabriel, can you make sure the seniors know from the beginning of the year that that's available?
And if there's no other discussion items, I just want to take a moment and thank Clint and Jeff. I think we're looking at 40-plus years together of district service, and they'll be walking off, into the sunset. So thank you guys very much for your years. I don't know who's going to keep this place cool now.
All right, any other discussion items from the board? Okay, future meetings. So our next work session is August 13th here, with the meetings at 7, with committees at 6:15, and then we have a regular session following week, August 20th, over at Lynch. We will be taking another exec session afterwards for contracts where no action will be taken after the meeting. Do we have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Mo-